Well, good morning and welcome to FYI. It's the time when we usually catch up with the schools. Wes Golden, superintendent at the Clinton School, is not available, but we're going to be visiting with Mike Jensen. He is at Clinton High School and he is helping to start up an ag program. Mike, thank you so much for coming in today.
No place I'd rather be in.
Okay, appreciate it. So, how did this all come about for you, an ag program at Clinton High School?
So I had had the opportunity to take a job similar to this in another district, and for whatever reason that fell through. And Teresa called me, the principal at the high school, and said, "Hey, we'd like to get something going. Come on in and let's talk about what I think, what you think, and see if we can make something work." So I met with her and.
So, I mean, an ag program at Clinton High School, first year for it, what has the reception been so far by the students?
So the reception has been interesting. Part of the appeal to this was to expose kids to agriculture who I knew probably wouldn't have the background, wouldn't maybe know what they didn't know. So for the kids that are in the classes, I think their eyes are becoming opened to all the opportunities. And then for the ones that aren't in there yet, I'm out trying to get them to come in.
So you're doing a little recruiting?
Doing a little selling.
Okay. Now,
trying to do some selling.
Are you actually at the high school then, Mike?
Yes. The first semester, we operated out of the college because our CTE wing was not quite done. But since essentially Christmas break, we've been in the new building, and it's fantastic.
Well, let's talk about this ag program. What are some of the things that you're talking to these students about, Mike?
So right now, the class we have going is an agriculture occupations class. And what that is it shows, we start with farming because really for agriculture, that's where it starts. But there's so much more involved with the business of agriculture, the field of agriculture, and that's what we're trying to open their eyes to. No matter what you really want to do with your life, there's a way to do it in agriculture, and that's what we're shining a light on. Kids who may have never thought that way or realized that there was something for them there, that's what we're showing them, is that there's something here for you. The other class that we have going right now is animal production, and really what that is, okay, you enjoy cooking out on the 4th of July, where does that hamburger come from? You know, it comes from a cow, of course, but what is the process, start to finish? A deeper appreciation for where their food comes from. And then we have plant production, which is very similar. Where does your food come from? What can we do with corn? Corn's a big deal around here. What can you do? I challenge them, think of, what'd you eat for breakfast? I challenge you that there's corn in there somewhere, whether it's the sugar or, so opening their eyes to how their food gets from the store to the table, and then even before that.
You were telling me you went to Northeast. You didn't grow up on a farm.
No, we had a little small acreage and we dabbled in a little bit of things, but no, I didn't grow up on a farm. I never, the agriculture classes didn't seem like they were for me. I never participated in FFA. I didn't participate in any of the ag stuff. I just didn't think it applied to me. All the kids that were in that grew up on farms and, they had cattle and they had a few hundred acres for sure of corn and beans, and I didn't have any of that. So that was part of the appeal to me in Clinton, because I knew over the course of my career and my experiences since high school that there was a lot you can do, and then to show that to these students who maybe didn't have that background, that there's so much available.
So, I mean, do you have like a textbook, or is this something that you really had to kind of develop?
Yeah, the short answer is no. I don't have a textbook. I spent the summer, after Teresa and I came to an agreement on what she thought we should do and what I thought we should do, I started working on it. And a lot of it is what I've experienced, the things I think that are important. And then I've pulled things from, Iowa State University, just all kinds of different places. And then I rely pretty heavily on guest speakers, people who are in the world doing the work, bringing the kids in and show. It's one thing to talk theory in the classroom and teach from all these different, but it's another thing to have someone come in who is doing it and can explain to them what their day is like. So we do that a lot, and we go out and see it. We've been down to ADM to see what corn. We've been out to the field, watched it come out of the, be combine, put in a semi, hauled to a bin, from the bin to ADM. And then we just had ADM come in and explain and bring samples of all the things that they make. So making that full connection.
Yeah, that is great. I mean, and what has been some of the comments that you've heard from your students, Mike?
Well, some of the students who do have a little bit of the background, they're anxious to get FFA started. They want to get going, whether it's just them few. So that's been encouraging. And I have a student who loves chocolate and had no idea that the sugar in chocolate comes largely from corn. That was, you could see in her face that she never made that connection. So those are the things, those are the little things that we keep adding together to create a broader scope of who we can reach. But those are the little things that, I realize who I'm talking to. They don't have the background, so when you see little things like that, it starts to resonate and it starts to spread. We're adding some chickens to the operation, so that I know will add some
So
appeal.
you're going to have actual chickens in the
Actual
class?
chickens. We're going to get them as chicks, day old,
Okay.
and raise them to full feather, and then we intend to keep a few to supply some eggs to the culinary department.
Well, there you
Eggs
go.
are $7 a dozen.
Well, yeah.
So we're learning about that.
They'll appreciate that. So you mentioned she. Now, what is the breakdown, boys, girls, in this program?
So it's probably 70-30, I suppose, at this point. Boys to girls, boys being the heavier side. But I tell you, the student I was mentioning, she's a female, and yeah, enjoys chocolate, and that was groundbreaking for her. So her comment was, I'll think about chocolate now when I drive by and see all that corn. So that's a neat connection to make.
You've kind of touched upon this. One of your talking points was the vision moving forward with the egg program at Clinton High School. So it seems like you've got some great ideas moving forward for this.
Yeah. One of the things that I've stressed early on, and we have a soils class too, the importance of soil and how everything starts there. So that has been something we've talked a great deal about. In fact, that every year the world's population goes up. In fact, I gave the example the other day that for the freshmen in the room, there's 350 million people in the United States. By the time you graduate high school, there will be 350 million more people in the world. The problem with that is there's no more land. So will there always be enough land to feed all of these people? The answer is no if we continue to do what we're doing. So we got to figure out alternative ways of farming. So for kids in town, urban farming is something we're really starting to pivot to. How can you grow plants in town? How can you do it with no soil? Those are things that we have an aquaponics setup where we're growing plants with fish water, no soil. So you can't grow plants with no soil. Yes, we can, and here's how. So we're going down those paths to show them. If you end up living in an apartment in Chicago, can you grow a garden? Yes, you can, and here's how. So farming a little bit differently than maybe the rural setting, but farming nonetheless.
That is interesting. And what a program to have at Clinton High School, first year for it. Now, I would imagine you're learning as you go, just
Absolutely.
like the students are, as you develop this program and the curriculum to this program.
Yeah, it's been a riot. I tell you, I've never been happier doing what I'm doing. It's fun to learn. It's fun to see them learn. It's fun to see it all come together. And absolutely, the content I find is not the difficult part. It's to make it meaningful to the students, so then they'll hold on to some of it. That's the part that I'm not a career teacher. I wasn't classically trained in this, but I think I'm picking up on it, and I see what resonates, what works, and what don't work, and that's really the hardest thing, taking the content and making it meaningful so that the kids hold on to it, making a connection where it's meaningful to them. I think that's the key, and that's what I work on.
So, of course, they have the breakdown of the day, its various time periods. And so how many classes do you actually have?
So I have 3 ag classes right now, and the Clinton Schools is making a major change going to a block schedule next year. For me, that's like music to my ears, because now we have more time. We can do things in the welding classroom also. We just have more time to do project-based stuff. We can go on a field trip and spend more time and not have to worry about them missing other classes, because I care about that. I don't, you come with me, but then you're missing another class, and I take that into consideration. So going into a block schedule, it will allow us so much more time per class period to do more things, experience more things. And for me, that's what it's about, is showing them as much as I can.
Visiting now with Mike Jensen. He is, of course, starting up the ag program at Clinton High School. You talked about the field trips, and I would imagine they're somewhat seasonal. So, I mean, in the fall, you're taking them out there during the harvest time.
Yep.
And then when we get to spring, when the planting season begins, so they're going to get both realms of this.
Yeah, so what we try to do is when the farming action's happening, we try to be there and observe it. And then we just had a field trip with PK Midwest in Walton, their new facility there. Okay. So they would rather us not come in the spring and the fall when they're busy. Yeah. But through the winter, they're not so busy. So we went out and toured their new facility. Okay. And what was really nice about them is I'm familiar with the manager that runs the store, and I know that there's a lot of people working there who don't have the farm background. So it was nice to talk with them and her to emphasize. Again, it's one thing to say it, but then for her to say, yeah, if you're willing to show up every day and work hard, you don't have to grow up on a farm to work here. Most of us didn't. So that's nice to, it supports what I've been trying to, portray or explain.
We got to take a break for the weather. We'll be right back with more with Mike Jensen. Very interesting program today on FYI. Our weather brought to you by Dan Dolan.
A short-lived weather impact alert continues for the first half of your Thursday for bitterly cold wind chills, and then that will go away by this afternoon. We're expecting mostly sunny skies and temperatures in the upper teens today. It will get cold again tonight, but wind chills will be more tolerable. Mostly clear to partly cloudy will drop to 2 below zero. With your Storm Track 8 weather impact forecast, I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutz.
Sunshine, it is now 3 above. Our update brought to you by Dan Dolan.
So where do you want to live? Imagine yourself in a new subdivision located between Whittier Elementary School and the new Clinton Middle School, and alongside the beautiful Emma Young Park. Easy access to everything Clinton has to offer, just south of 13th Avenue North at Mill Creek Parkway. It's a great time to get into your new home. Come out to Mill Creek Crossing and see our family homes, or pick out a lot and we'll build your dream home for you. At Mill Creek Crossing, we're building a future for all generations. Stop out today at our sales office, open 7 days a week.
Mike Jensen in studio with us on today's FYI program, and very interesting listening to you. You've got a varied background.
Yeah.
I mean, you weren't a teacher.
No.
You didn't go to school to become a teacher.
No.
How'd you end up in this?
Well, my wife and I decided to go down I'd always operated, when I was a senior in college, I opened my own business. I realized I wanted to work for myself. I ran a cleaning service for a very long time. Then got out of that and we got into the bar business. We built a bar and restaurant. And then COVID came and we had to close it. So I started working at the school. It was a stretch for me. I wasn't a great student, not because I couldn't have been, but because it didn't relate to me. I thought I was wasting my time largely. So subbing in the building, trying to work in the building, it was odd to me at first, but then I realized that I think this is what I should have been doing. I really enjoyed it. I seemed to communicate. I seemed to do it okay. And I thought this might be something I should pursue, and then it just kind of went from there, and step by step, and that's how I got to where I'm at now.
It's interesting. You say, you weren't a good student, but you could have been a good student. I would imagine you can relate to those kind of students who say, why should I be doing this?
That's exactly why. And I spend most of my time thinking, like I said before, the content oftentimes I'm finding is not the critical part necessarily. It's, can you take some of those critical parts and make them meaningful so that the kids want to hear it and will hold on to it? Can you make a connection? Why should we be doing this? To me, that is a question I need to be able to answer for them. What are we doing this for? How can this benefit you? So everything I do is tied to that. Every class that I teach, there's an application they have to fill out, an employment application. We do an interview. We talk about what the industry wants. And we really pay attention to this stuff matters. This is what you're going to do when you graduate, and this is what those employers are looking for.
What are some of the opportunities? As you mentioned, there are other opportunities besides working on a farm.
Yeah. So, like me, for example, for the last several years, I'm not a farmer. I didn't grow up as a farmer, but what I have been doing is taking care of hog confinements. I have been the maintenance guy. I've learned some electrical stuff. I've learned about swine in general. We get them from babies to finish. So I take care of the operation of the building. Everything's automated for the most part, but it's a lot of equipment, keeping it all running, making sure they don't freeze, making sure they don't run out of food, all of those types of things. Ran a trucking business for the company that I was working for. They wanted to diversify the farm, wanted to get into the trucking business, and I had some experience there, so we did that. But working at ADM, we had Jason Dolash come down. He's an engineer. He runs the cogen plant. All the different opportunities that he explained that are down there. Implement sales. You can weld. You can be an electrician. You can do all of those. Any career you can think of. In fact, I had a student last semester who wanted to be a nurse. I know I want to be a nurse. Like, you're not going to tell me that I'm going to be a farmer or I'm going to do any of this. I want to be a nurse. Okay, I challenge you that there is nursing and so we found out, we looked around. John Deere in the Quad Cities hires nurses. They have on-staff nurses that work in the John Deere plant to take care of injuries and those types of things. So we expanded on that, and turns out there's a lot of those bigger agriculture companies that have on-staff nurses. So I told you, and then we found it, and then, so yeah, the challenge is what do you want to do? And I bet we can find it in agriculture, and that's what we explore.
Visiting with Mike Jensen. I was wondering if we're going to be able to fill a half hour. I think we could have filled an hour with you here today. We got about 10 more minutes in the program. I would imagine, listening to you and what you're talking about your students, there's some good give and take in the classroom. I would imagine you give the students an opportunity to speak their mind.
Sure, absolutely. The way I start every class the very first week is I spend the first few days, or until I feel like we've gotten to that point, it doesn't matter what you know if they don't know you. If they don't like you or can't deal with you, it doesn't really matter what you have to say. So the first several days, it's just a meet and greet, really. We need to get to a point where we can have a conversation, because that's the way I want the class to be. And if we can't get there, that's a problem. Being able to public speak and being able to sell something, whether it's just selling yourself, being able to, you're the expert on you. You know more about you than anybody else. You have to be able to explain to someone who you are. And once you can do that, it becomes easier. So I try to have all of our classes a conversation. Let's talk about it. That's how we do it. So yeah, it's back and forth all the time.
You mentioned during the weather break, that you have gotten great support from the Clinton Community School District with this.
Yeah, I can't stress enough how there's only so much I can do if the administration, if the principal isn't on board. And everything I've ever asked for, any idea that I've had, let's make it work. Call me, tell me what you need, and we'll figure out how to do it. And when I say she, I'm talking about Miss Schultz, the principal at the high school. Anything I have needed, any brainstorm, this chicken operation, that's a unique situation in the shop that we're doing it in. Yeah, let's figure out how we can do it, and we'll make it work.
So how many chickens are you talking about? And you got a coop, or what do you all got going on?
So here's the other thing that I think is important. So we're going to get 20 chickens to start. Okay. We intend to sell 17 and keep 3. The 3 that we keep will produce eggs for the culinary department. I have recruited our construction tech teacher to build the coop. So we will start with a water trough, very similar to what you might see at Farm and Fleet. We're going to basically set up our operation that way to start. And then once they become full feathered, we will put them in our coop that construction tech will be building. So we try to use the resources in the building. They need a project to do. We have a project. Why buy it when we can build it? So the students are going to build it, and then we intend to supply the eggs to the culinary department.
Of course, renovation's still going on at the Clinton High School.
Still going on.
But once everything gets done, I would imagine it's really going to benefit a program like yours.
Yeah, part of our issues right now is some of the things that we want to do. We have the hydroponics set up. We have a bunch of plants growing. We're going to have chickens now. We really don't have the floor space for it, so we're using the mezzanine and the wood shop to accommodate these things. Rather than just say we can't do it, let's figure out a way we can do it with what we have, and then certainly when the building's done, we'll just kind of fill it up.
we've been talking primarily ag, but you also do welding.
Yes.
Talk about that program.
So right now I do the introductory welding. Kids that have never struck an arc before, they don't really know anything about it at all, but they want to dip their toes in it. So that's what I do. I introduce them to it. But in that program also, we want to create relevance. Why is this important? There's so many careers in welding in that field that we just want to expose them to as many as we can. And one of the very important things that we work on in all the departments that I'm involved in is hireability. Teaching kids what it takes to be hireable, what it takes to, get that job once you graduate from high school. So we work on all of those things in welding, and what we're working on now is partnering with other businesses, people outside of the building. We've just completed a few projects like that, where we do small welding jobs for outside companies so that the kids can learn what that, working for a customer is, building something off of a plan, that is important. And so we try to partner. We just did a small project where we modified some essentially refrigerator carts, but they move CO2 tanks for a customer. So we got the project in. The kids it was explained to them what needed to be done. They made the modifications, and they were so proud to do that. So that's what we're working on now, trying to find as many of those opportunities as we can for what we call work-based learning.
Yeah, and there is such a satisfaction to see a project completed. I mean, when you can actually physically see what you've done as opposed to like theory.
For sure. In welding in your booth, that teaches you the skill. You take the plate and you work on a weld and you do that. But when you can take that skill and apply it to something that is helpful to someone or that can generate revenue or income, it really starts to change the way they look at it. And that's what we're trying to do.
Amazing. You're just getting started in this program. Do you see yourself staying with this program for some time, Mike?
I can't imagine doing anything else, to be honest with you. When we left the bar, my wife and I decided that we would do meaningful work. I mean, doing things that matter is where we wanted to go. And that's why I started at the school. I wanted to do something that made a difference, something that could be meaningful. And now that I've tried that, I just can't imagine doing anything else.
Now, of course, Clinton offering this for the first time, and you may not know this, but are there other schools, like bigger schools, like down the Davenport area like that, trying to do something like this?
Yes, there are. I don't know much about their programs. I've talked to some people at the state who have helped me with some of the things I'm doing. But to be honest with you, I'm spending so much time trying to do what we're doing that I haven't had a chance to really look much at what others are doing. I think I have a pretty good handle on content. I have plenty to talk about and to go through, so I haven't needed anything really from anyone. But again, I don't know what I don't know. I'm trying to get through this year and try the things that I think work, and then reevaluate this summer and explore what others are doing.
What a great addition to the curriculum at Clinton High School. Now, do you get a chance to go down to the middle school level at all and say, hey, 8th graders, this is what you got to look forward to?
I tell you what, the middle school industrial tech teacher, Mr. Cottrell, we have been working on what's called vertical learning, where we tie some of what we're doing to what they're doing so that when they introduce it to them at the middle school level, and then they can dig deeper into it when they get to the high school level. So we've been going back and forth working on, that's what we do on our Wednesdays. When we get out early on Wednesdays and the kids go home, we figure out how we can do that. And that's what we've been working on, is how can we introduce it, create some interest at the middle school level, and then dive deeper into it at the high school level.
Okay, wrapping up the program, is there anything that you would like to add that I have not brought up that you would like to talk about for your program?
I just think that I just want people to know it's there, to try it, to just, obviously the kids, just try it. I promise once you try it, you'll find something that interests you. Something you may have never thought of before might just be here. That's how it's worked out for me. So I think if you try it, you might find something that you never thought was there. So just try it. That's the thing.
Great job. So glad you came in today, Mike. Thank you.
I appreciate it very much.
right now. The Dan Patrick Show.
Dan Patrick.
And this might be one of those moments with the Kansas City Chiefs where you got to make some hard decisions this offseason. Patrick Mahomes may say to Andy Reid,